One very good reason why you'd want a simple push mower is that you don't have to deal with the problems that come along with a complicated mower like the one you're seeing right now. And I hate saying that out loud since I would gladly recommend to anyone listening to buy a Honda mower. Unfortunately, that comes along with a very steep price, and that is Honda-related problems. So with all the problems they could have, would I still recommend them? Well, you're about to see the answer. In today's video, we're going to be looking at this Honda lawnmower. And the problem is that we need to fix a bunch of smaller problems it has so that we can sell it. But some of the problems it has to do with light surging, not to mention a recoil problem mainly due to damage, and some other maintenance items we need to take care of. Now, some of the viewers are going to argue that fixing all these smaller problems would decrease the profits from it, but I like to think it's going to help sell it better. But of course, if we have to fix these problems by replacing them, it would reduce our profit, but I am hoping that we don't have to do that. So if you've been watching the channel for the last year, you're going to recognize this mower. This is the one we fixed because the wheels would lock up when pulling the mower backwards. But in that same video, you would have noticed that the rope was cutting its way through the plastic for the recoil. And if we don't fix it now, it's only going to get worse until one day the recoil is not going to work. This is not a common problem, but I seem to see it on Honda mowers more than any other brands. So what's causing the rope to cut through the plastic then? Simple, the metal eyelet that protects the plastic is missing. But on this other one from a parts mower, you can see how it works, so to make our repair easier, we'll just replace it for now. And yes, we could just take the eyelet from the black Recoil and put it into the red version, but this is much quicker. But if you choose to try it the other way, then be my guest. However, my choice will come back to haunt me. Now, if you recall, we drained the oil from the engine the last time, but we never put oil back into it. That's the reason why we didn't try starting it in that video, but the focus of the video was of course the drive wheels locking up. But because the mower ended up on its back so we could service the drive line, that oil had to come out, otherwise it was going to find its own way out. I really do hate trying to read the dipstick after adding fresh oil, and that's because it's really tough to see. That just means we'll have to check it again once the oil has some time to mix with the old stuff at the bottom of the engine. Next up is the engine surging, and for this part, I'm going to try the easy way and not take off the carb. Now you might think I'm just being a bit odd since we're so close to taking it off, but going those next few steps could mean more trouble if you're not ready for it. So I'm hoping that you won't have to take those next steps, and we'll try this first, and if it takes care of the surging, then we'll both be happy. Now the plan is to take out the fuel bowl, that way we can try cleaning the main fuel jet. But once the bowl is off the carb, we need to inspect its condition for any kind of sediments that might have collected at the bottom. Luckily for us, there are no sediments, which is great news. However, I would like to do a flow test later on. So if you do have some short bits that would clear the mowing deck, you could try and take out the main jet. However, for me, I like trying to clean it while it's still in place, and that's because of the condition the fuel bowl tells us how clean it could be. But if your bowl had a lot of stuff in it, then the shortcut might not be enough, and I'd recommend that you take the carb off the engine. For those who have not had the pleasure of trying to install this carb and airbox setup, well, you're in for a real treat. Some of the comments I've received about the hassle it can be trying to install it is pretty much spot on. This can be pretty tricky, but if you do get it right, there's a very good chance you'll forget to connect the emissions hose to the back of the airbox. I know I've done it a couple of times. That's because once you get those bolts started, you think you're home free and just start to tighten them up. However, you need to leave the bolts loose until you connect that hose, then you're free to tighten them up. Just don't over tighten the bolts, otherwise you'll damage the metal, and the fix for it is not fun to do. So here's the air filter that was installed on this engine, and at first it looks clean, that is until you start to tap the debris loose from it. And if you couldn't tell, that's a lot of dirt that's coming out of the pleats of the filter. So in most cases, you do not have to buy a new air filter, you can just tap the dirt out of it. However, over a long period of time, the sealing edge around the filter could go flat, and if it does, air and dirt could get past the filter, making it to the engine. My recommendation would be to clean the filter as often as you like during the season, but by the next season, I would really think about getting a new one. So because we disturbed the carb, we need to check and see if it's going to leak before moving on. But luckily there was no leak, and we'll move on to the front wheels and find out whether they're a bit tough to rotate. Now they are not stuck and do spin, but they seem to fight a bit and certainly do not freewheel like they should. And as you can tell, I had to fight just getting the bolt out of the wheel, and that's because of the buildup on it. But before you attempt to lubricate the bolt, you might want to clean off that buildup first, that way the lube will work better. You can use whatever method you want to do this, maybe a wire brush or maybe fine sandpaper, but you don't have to use anything aggressive. But I will say that this one was pretty bad, even just using brake cleaner hardly did anything to it, so here comes the Scotch-Brite pad. And after a couple attempts with the drill spinning, it now looks 100 times better. Next comes the grease, and then we'll install the wheel and see how much better it'll spin. Just be careful what kind of grease you use. Something light would work great, but if you use something tacky, it might actually hurt its performance. But keep in mind, once you start greasing it, you'll have to keep checking it once in a while because that grease won't last forever. But as you can see, it now spins very well, so I guess it's time to see how it starts and runs. So the good news is that the engine started and ran, but we didn't get too far into the test before we realized the recoil is making some noise. The recoil isn't that big of an issue and we'll talk more about it, but for right now we want to deal with the carb. So the carb was working, but the surging was really hard to notice. However, there was still a faint trace of it. And even though it's a real pain, we've got to take the carb off the engine again and take a better look at it. But while the fuel line is disconnected from the carb, I would like to open the fuel valve and see how well it's flowing through the line. And as you can see, the flow is pretty good, but could it be any better? Well, to find out, I'm going to drain the fuel and inspect the fuel filter. Now there are other factors that could cause reduced fuel flow to the carb, one of which is a clogged vent on the fuel cap. But after looking at the vents on this fuel cap, they are clear, so we don't have to worry about it. So if you didn't know, the fuel filter is located at the outlet for the fuel tank and will typically come off with the fuel line. But to get a better look at it, I would like to push it out of the fuel line using a long piece of metal. But of course, to be able to use that piece of metal, we have to take off the fuel line and push it through the other end. Now that the fuel line is clear of the engine, we get to see what the fuel filter looks like, and yes, we could try and clear it the way it is. And the biggest reason why you want to do it that way is because taking the filter out can sometimes damage it, which means more money to invest into it. Now, even though the fuel flow was pretty good, there was some debris in the filter. So we'll have to try and get the debris out and see if it improves the flow any, which is what we want. We'll let the carb cleaner do its job and deal with it here in a bit, but next we want to check the carb for any problems. And the first part we want to look at is the main fuel jet in the pickup tube. But as you can see, the opening in the jet looks pretty clear. However, we're not done with the inspection yet. The part that just fell out of the carb is the emulsion tube, and its job is to help fuel and air mix together. But for it to do that, these tiny passages in it need to be clear, which they seem to be. But there is one last place we need to look at for a problem, and that is the pilot jet located under a bolt on top of the carb. Now, it might look like there's a huge opening in it, but it's hard to show on camera just how tiny that opening is. But I find the best way to clean it is to blow carb cleaner through the right side opening at the inlet for the carb. You can use compressed air as well, but carb cleaner was already in my tool bag, so that's what I'm using. Speaking of it, I'm also going to use it to clear out the opening in the main jet before installing it in the emulsion tube. Just be careful installing the brass parts because it's really easy to damage them with your hand tools. But just make sure they're tight, otherwise they might come loose while the engine is running. But I am going to say this, if the work you do on your carb doesn't work, then you might want to consider a new carb instead. These carbs are not very expensive, at least from the aftermarket, but as you might have guessed, the factory ones are very expensive. After pushing out the fuel filter from the line, here's what it looks like, but I don't know if you could tell, but there's some debris inside it. And before we install it, we need to clean it out the best we can, otherwise we'll need to install an aftermarket one. But if you're curious as to what was inside the filter, well, here it is, so maybe the flow will be better without that gunk in there. As you can tell, this is a very strange style of fuel filter, and its placement was also kind of strange. But if you're wanting something a bit more conventional, then maybe something like this might be more your liking. Now, some are going to say that this style of filter is meant for systems with a fuel pump. And they might be right, however, I've seen these work well on gravity feed systems before, so I don't have a problem recommending them. But for us, since we cleaned this one, I'm happy to use it again since keeping it stock is a better choice. Next up is putting the fuel tank back onto the engine, putting some fuel into the tank, and then testing the flow with our freshly cleaned filter to see if there's any difference. And after turning on the fuel valve, we can see that the flow looks pretty much the same as before, so I don't think the flow was a real issue. But at least I know the surging had to do with the carb and not something else. Now you might be wondering what would happen to the flow if there was no filter in the tank. Well, I guess we're about to find out. So I've taken out the filter to see if there's a huge improvement in the flow, but as you can see, there's hardly any difference, so there's your answer. But if you happen to see a huge difference, then I would consider replacing the filter with something else, since it would be risky to not use a fuel filter for these engines. But if you did take out the filter, the engine would run just fine. That is until debris in the tank makes its way to the carb, which might clog it up and stop your engine. And with the carb finally looked at, next comes the hard part again of installing it and all the gaskets onto the engine. Now there are some interesting techniques that might help you to install the carb and air box, but I still insist on doing it this way. It's really not hard to do, and if you had a third arm, it might be helpful. However, using only 2 arms still works. Now we're almost ready to get this mower back onto the ground and test if cleaning the carb will help out the surging, not to mention testing out the self-propel too. We also haven't done anything with that recoil yet, so it is going to still be a bit noisy, but we'll get some good testing in and then we'll talk about it. So it's been running for several minutes and it should be good and hot. Let's see how it starts back up. And as you just saw, it started right back up with no problems whatsoever. But if yours is tough to start or won't start back up at all, then you might have to inspect the valve clearances, which is not easy to do on this engine. Now as far as that noisy recoil, you can dive into it and fix the problem, but for only $10 you can get a new one. So if you're into pain and frustration, then take it apart and try and fix it, but if you like your free time, not to mention your sanity, just buy a new one. So I can fix a lot of stuff, but if I can avoid the hassle with very little money, I think it's just a smart thing to do. And besides that, some mysteries are insignificant enough that you really don't need to investigate it too much unless you really need to know. So my question is, would you try taking apart the recoil to find out the cause of the noise, or would you just replace it and never worry about it again? Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or your own projects, and I'll see you next time.